Okay, so today is Sunday, September 6th, and I'm starting to cook down my tomatoes to make my tomato sauce. So here's a big cooker that that I have some tomatoes in, and then you come over here to the stove, and then I have this Ninja cooker here that I have some more in. And then I have this big pot here full of tomatoes. So I have 3 different pots going on, and this is only probably about half of the tomatoes. But anyhow, so I'm cooking them down to make the tomato sauce and spaghetti sauce. And so tonight I'm just cooking them down as much as I can, and it's already 8 o'clock, so I'm not going to be at this much longer. And then once I get all the tomatoes cooked down, and then I'll go back and actually make the sauce. So my spaghetti sauce. Okay, so the spaghetti sauce is cooked down. And so what I'm doing now is taking my immersion blender and just mixing it up. And so you can see how thick it is, how much more thick it has gotten. Sorry about all the noise, but the fan is on above the stove because it is super hot in here, and it comes on automatically by itself. So anyhow, so yeah, so it's thickening up really nice. Okay, so here's the other pot, and I'm doing the same thing. Going to my blender. So, like this, I'm gonna more. Okay, so I think this pot has cooked down enough for my likeness. And it will cook it down a little bit further once I add all my peppers and seasoning and onions and stuff to it later on in the next couple of days. But tonight I just wanted to get all the tomatoes cooked down, which I still have a lot more. So this is just the beginning process. So I'm happy with this. So I'm just going to take this off the stove and let it cool down. And so I can get it put in the refrigerator tonight before I go to bed. Okay, so the tomatoes in here have cooked down also. So I'm happy with the thickness. And like I was saying, it'll get a little bit even thicker once I add in my other ingredients, my peppers and onions and other flavorings and seasonings. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this off and let it cool down so I can get it refrigerated tonight. And then tomorrow I will work on the other half of the tomatoes. Alrighty, so here is the last pot of tomato sauce. Well, tomato paste. And it's not as thick as the others. I'm just gonna let it finish cooking down a little bit later. It's already 10:45, so I'm gonna get ready for work tomorrow. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this off, let this cool down, and get it in the refrigerator. And then tomorrow I'll be working on the other half. Okay, so it's day 2 of making the spaghetti sauce, and I have the tomato sauce that I started cooking down. So I have it in 3 pots here, and I have my peppers here, and then I forgot the onions, so I gotta go get my onions. So and what I'm going to do is get the tomato sauce, get the onions sauteed, the peppers and the onions sauteed down some, and go ahead and pour it into the sauce and add my spices and go ahead and cook it all down just a little bit more before I start to can it all up. So let me go get my onions. Okay, so these are the onions that I grew over the spring that didn't quite bulb out like they were supposed to. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and get a few of these. And they're still good for the most part. And I'm just gonna go ahead and get some of these chopped up, peeled and chopped up to put into the spaghetti sauce. Okay, so here's my basil plant, and as you can see, they've started to flower. So I'm not sure if basil changes the flavor once it flowers or not, if it gets bitter or what. But what I'm going to do is go in here and cut some of these younger stems, leaves, and just taste it out and see how they are, and go from there. So I could put some of this inside of my spaghetti sauce. Okay, so I got my sauce cooked down the way I want it, and I got my jars ready. Looks like I can only fit 5 in there at a time. And so I'm gonna get ready and get this started. And I got my citric acid here. I'm gonna use citric acid to put in the bottom of the jars. Since it's a quart size, I'm gonna put, what did it say? Half a teaspoon. Yep, half a teaspoon of citric acid per quart jar. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these jars filled, and I'll be back. Okay, I don't know how this is gonna work out, but I'm going to try videotaping this while I get this ready. Okay, so one thing that I did forget when I was making the tomato sauce was the garlic. I had a whole thing of garlic here that I was going to put inside of the tomato sauce, and I forgot about it. So I ended up having to put garlic powder in this batch of tomatoes. So, but I won't forget on the next batch. So, yeah, so I can't have tomato sauce without garlic. I knew it was something missing, but I couldn't figure out what it was. So, I don't have a ladle, but what I do have is some measuring cups. I think I'm gonna try back, see if I think that's what I used last time. I'm not sure, to do this. So we're gonna test it out and see. So I need to put my half a teaspoon of citric acid in each jar. Okay, so got that done. So now I can go ahead and start getting it in the jars. Put that there. And I'm going to okay, so let me test the head space. Oh yeah, this is a lot messier than I remember. Okay, so we need a, where's my, oh, there it is. So you need a half inch of head space. So when I put this here, so it should come right up to, it's, make sure that's half inch right there. Okay, that's a half inch. That's about a half inch. That's a half inch. what I'm gonna do is get the rims. Of the jar cleaned off. I'm just gonna use a little lemon juice. Make sure the rims of the jar are clean. Y'all, this is only my second time making spaghetti sauce. I made some last year. And I actually have a few jars left. Tomato sauce. Okay. So, I was taking debug to make sure I'm not having any air in it, but I think the liquid most of the time. I should have did that before and cleaned the lids off. And actually, I do see some air pockets in there. I guess even with liquid, you have air bubbles. I guess I should have did that before. Clean the lids. There's definitely some air bubbles in here. This is that important with liquid. Okay. So I'm just gonna not clean. Make sure. Alrighty. And so here are my lids back here. I had to use my New Wave convection thing back there for my lids. So I ran out of space on the stove. I knew that was gonna happen. Anyhow, I know I was gonna make a mess somewhere. I'm gonna get on my foot. That was a mess. Okay. Tops, lids. Rings. Make sure the lid is centered. Fingertip tight. Y'all, these lids are hot. Fingertip tight, make sure the lid is centered. I guess if you don't put them on tight enough, you end up with siphoning. Make sure that's in the middle. On the top. It's going to be one really difficult. Okay, fingertip tight, fingertip tight. Alrighty. Now we're going to get down back over here. Trying to keep this thing from slipping. I really don't like this setup like that, but it is what it is. All right. So now I get to sit this down into the water, and I think, yeah, that is definitely too much water. Let's see. Ooh, it's popping already. Too much water. Too much water. Too much water. Okay, I need to take these out for a second because it's. It's too much water. So let's try this again. Okay. Okay. Much better. Whew, that was scary, y'all. So, but I got the jars in there, and they have more than an inch of water covering the jars up. So now I just gotta find the lid. Where is the lid? And then these are supposed to process for 40 minutes. So once they come to a rolling boil, oh Lordy have mercy. This is scary, trying to make sure you don't forget anything, because you don't want to go through this whole process and be done forgot something, and then you be done messed up your tomatoes. I have to start all over again and process over again. So I'm just looking at my ball book of preserving just to make sure I got everything. So I would consider that a rolling boil. So I'm going to go ahead and set my timer for 40 minutes. Minutes. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so my timer has gone off, and so it has been 40 minutes. So now it says that you must let the pot sit for 5 minutes before you take the jars out. So I set it for 5 minutes, and we'll be back. 5 minutes. Okay, so my 5 minutes has been up. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the jars from, and I put this over here on the cabinet so that it would be easier for me to take them out and put all right, so there we go. I have 5 jars of my homemade spaghetti sauce. So I'm just gonna let them sit over here. You have to let them sit undisturbed for 12 hours. And hopefully that is it. I can see a little bubbling on the inside of the jars. Let's see if we can see. So, but anyhow, that's it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the next batch started, and I'll be back after I've completed them all tomorrow sometime. Okay, so it is 1:03 in the morning, and I'm finally finished with this batch of tomato sauce. And so I have all together 15 jars. So I have these 10 jars of regular sauce, and then these, well, I ain't gonna say regular. They're all the same sauce. It's just that I added more hot peppers to this one in the end. to spice it up a little bit more, because although all of the peppers were mixed together, the hot and the sweet, you really couldn't tell that there was any hot peppers in there. So I added a little bit more hot peppers in the end to these 5 wide mouth jars. So that is it. And I still have probably about 20 to 30 more pounds of tomatoes inside of the freezer that I got to process and can. Okay, so today is Wednesday, September 10th, and this is my last batch of tomatoes. So I already done steamed them down, stewed them down, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm getting ready to add in some peppers, some onions, and some green peppers. These are all hot peppers that I'm going to add, and those are my baby ball onions that I grew in the garden last year. And inside of that Ninja blender there is some green peppers that I also grew in the garden that I took out of the freezer. So, and of course here are the jars of tomatoes sauce that I've already done. And over here on the stove, I have some roasted garlic. Didn't forget the garlic this time. So the garlic is not from the garden, but just as good. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish getting this mixed up with the immersion blender here. And then I'm gonna add in the rest of these ingredients so they can cook down the rest of the way before I get it jarred up.